When you are knowledgeable about something that can help people, you have a duty to share it. You have normal anxiety from everyday life, from not paying the bills. You have normal fears that we all have. And as long as they don't become chronic and diagnosed, then all this psychoeducation is the best thing for you. The way you look at stress before it actually happens will determine the impact of that stress on your body.
How can we as leaders of the family or leaders of organizations communicate during uncertainty without creating unnecessary fear?
The first guideline is give as much information as you can, including
Muhami Matters with Chris Adams, powered by CJA Consulting.
Welcome to Muhami Matters, where credibility meets clarity in legal and professional services. I'm your host, Chris Adams, founder of Muhami and CJA Consulting. In times of uncertainty, people often look for calm, credible voices, people who can help make sense of what they're feeling without adding noise or fear. Today's guest is Dr. Hatem Goucha, who has recently done exactly that. Through a series of videos on Instagram and TikTok, Hatem has been speaking directly to people about uncertainty, resilience, stress, family, decision-making, and how to stay grounded when life feels unsettled. Those videos have clearly resonated, reaching a much wider audience and sparking an important conversation about how we cope as human beings during really, really difficult moments. Hatem, by profession, is an executive coach, leadership consultant, and author of the book, Become Who You Were Meant to Be. He works with executives and corporate teams on resilience, high performance and leadership, and draws on a career that includes senior project leadership roles on major engineering and construction projects, as well as really deep experience across cultures and all kinds of sectors. In today's conversation, we're going to start with those recent videos, what prompted Hatem to make them, why they resonated, what reaction he received, and how they've helped others. We're then going to explore the wider things behind them, things like uncertainty, stress, gratitude, post-traumatic growth, and leadership under pressure. And importantly, how to communicate with families and teams when the world around us feels a little bit unclear. Dr. Hatem, welcome. Thank you for joining us on Muhami Matters.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Just to get us started, could you please just briefly introduce yourself and your work?
Oh, you have done a very nice intro. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a father of three, happily married. I live in Abu Dhabi, where I have a executive coaching business, New Era. And as you said, the bulk of what I do is one-on-one coaching with executives, with C-suite founders and successful leaders in general, as well as high-performance teams. That's what I've been doing in my prior career as a senior project manager for Bechtel. It always boils down to relationships with people, motivation, feedback, seeing in people what they don't see in themselves. So it's always been a people side of things in my life. Right now, with what's going on in the region, I have dedicated a significant part of my time to what I call psychoeducation, which is fundamentals of psychology and neuroscience to help people on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn as well, understand what is happening to them as these threats happen, as the geopolitical situation is very uncertain today. Major shifts are happening every day around here. So that is the impetus of this was to help people, and that's now become a part of my work for at least 2.5 months now.
Wow. I mean, I saw the videos myself and they're really impressive. But I think what's also impressive is the way you've gone from, being, I think, an engineer by trade, working for Bechtel, you mentioned, for many years in, I think, a couple of different countries. to moving into new era coaching and consulting, and working, I guess, with various types of people, leaders, and teams, to now really talking to the public.
Yeah.
How has that transition been to you for you, I should say, from those three quite distinct I guess approaches?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the reasons I wrote my book is to explain this. So it talks about my transformation from person A to person B, from engineer, project manager, one company, very, very strict policies and procedures, to, as you said, talking to the public and dealing with people most of the time, and not so much with procedures, but dealing with coaching one-on-one or talking on platforms like Instagram to people, or participating in classes. I also give out free classes to people on particular subjects that have to do with emotional intelligence, with resilience, as you said, post-traumatic growth. So these things come naturally to me. Even when I was in the book, I explained this. Even when I was in college in the U.S., way back then, 80s, in the 80s, I was an RA. I was a resident assistant. My RA saw this talent in me, and I said, "You should become an RA." And the resident assistant is essentially a people problem solver. Somebody who the university assigns, they give you a single room, and you are the first line of defense for the university. If there's any conflict between students that are living together, roommates that don't know each other at all, conflicts, whether it's racial or homophobic or religious, whatever it is, there's always conflicts. And the RA is where the people come to first. So the room is central at any time of the day. They give you free room and board, but the price is they train you. The price is you need to be available to take the first line of complaints from people. Also, people disturbing rooms. So they taught us how to do conflict resolution, how to listen. I was 18. They taught us how to deal with drug issues and alcohol issues and gender issues. I mean, I couldn't believe I was getting all that training, but we used it all. I mean, I was there
Really?
the 4 years in the system. I've seen every situation that can happen. So those years, 18 to 22, came in very handy towards the end, right? So of course, then there was the engineering, and then working in construction for many years for Bechtel. I was with them 26 years, and then it started reverting back to people in the project management years, the last 6 years of my career. So it was an okay transition. It was not a hard transition. What was harder to transition was the lack of that environment of a company, right? That you get a salary, that you can sleep well at night, and you shift to, okay, now I have my own company. I have to do my own business development. I have to secure the income, the revenue. So that was difficult to transition to. I talk a little bit about it in the book, but it comes with the positive, which is a complete control over your time.
Yeah, certainly been a big adventure for you. But I thought RAs only existed in the movies. I've seen them on the American TV shows and in the movies, but I didn't know that they actually existed in real life. And when you see them on TV and the movies, they never have any training. They seem to be, the ones who get their own room, and that's their privilege, and they're sort of down the end of the corridor, and they have to be the bad guy, I guess.
The RA is an institute. It's part of the college institution, actually. And Michigan State University, where I went to school, was particular because they had the largest residence hall system in the whole country. In all of the U.S., Michigan State had 55,000 students every year, of which I'm thinking 27 or 28,000 lived full-time on campus. So you can imagine that's a large population, how many hotels, it's like a small city. And
Really,
you
yeah.
have to have, so the RAs were taken very seriously. But what you probably see on Hollywood movies are the RAs in privileged private schools dealing with the fraternities and sororities and the partying. What you don't see is the real life problems that happen with addictions, with mental health, with all kinds of abuse and a lot of racism and yeah, that's incredible.
So yeah, from a very young age, of 18, you've been trained and I guess faced with dealing with these kinds of things. So
Absolutely.
just turning, I guess, to your more what I'm thinking is that this has given you the ability to resonate with people and to understand, I think, how people think and why they think the way they do. So your recent Instagram and TikTok videos seem to have really resonated with people. For those who haven't seen them, can you tell us a little bit about what you were talking about in those videos and what prompted you to start making them at this particular moment?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning them. The day after the hostilities started, so on 1st of March, I felt a strong urge to record a reel about what was going on, because I felt it in myself. I'm like, okay, something is happening, something is big, loud noises like I've never heard in my life before. I have never been in open conflict zone ever in my life. So the first 24 hours or 18 hours, I realized what was going on in my own nervous system. And then I went to bed and I started thinking, and I'm like, wow, I'm able to process a lot of these emotions. And I was talking to my wife and my kids about them and saying, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And then I had the idea, why don't I record a video and post it on Instagram? And I did. I went outside, just outside my villa here. There is a small park, and that's where all my recordings are. And I just go around the park once, and I spoke in the first one about how your nervous system is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's alerting you to something that is a danger. It puts you in fight or flight. You probably could not sleep very well because you were in fight or flight. And I started giving tips right away as to what are the things you can do immediately. And I also saw the danger of doom scrolling right away, because everybody want to make sense of something. So people are looking. They're looking to make sense of things. And all the content creators know this, and they start putting the things that will capture your attention. And actually, I had to fight. So the first reel got 630,000 views, which was incredible.
Wow.
At that time, I had only 1,400 followers. So I'm like, oh, this is important. And now it became a duty. And as more things happen, as the actual missile threats themselves became problematic, I remember I said, when you go to bed, make sure you put it on airplane mode, otherwise you won't be able to sleep. And then the next day, the authorities switched to texting at night only, or like a beep at night instead of an alarm. So I was following everything that was happening in real time and noticing what's happening to me and turning around and making a video about it.
Were people also reaching out to you? Obviously, you gained a massive amount of followers.
Yeah, I tripled my followers in a week or something. People were sending me DMs or saying, tell us about this, or how do I speak to my kids? What do I do with my pets? They're going berserk. All kinds of situation. And then people were saying, should I leave or should I stay? So I could go back in RA mode almost, and every person had a different situation. But what I'm teaching in these videos is a framework that allows you to respond to any situation. And this is how I respond to all the questions I get, because it boils down to psychological needs that need to be met. And I help the person figure out what is that need that needs to be met, right? Some people, for example, we have two opposing needs that are different intensity in us. One is certainty, and the other one is novelty or uncertainty. So we want certainty to feel safe, but to a lesser extent, we also want novelty so we don't get bored about life. And this situation was one where the need for certainty became huge because uncertainty grew to a level that people have never seen in their lives before. So I made sure that they understood that if their threshold of how much uncertainty they can handle is exceeded, then there's nothing that anybody can do to bring them safety, and they needed to act and probably leave, but also think about some criteria of when to come back. Then this issue of leaving became a big subject because people who left back to wherever they're from, UK, South Africa, Europe, wherever they are, India, Singapore, after that immediate threat, the physical threat passed, and they felt like in a safe place, but then they were doom scrolling more than us that stayed here because they wanted to know more because they were not there. They could not hear when there was an alarm or anything. So they started to panic more than when they were in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Doha. By the way, this was across Kuwait, Doha, Bahrain, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. It was all over the Dammam, eastern provinces. So then a guilt started setting in with these people, and guilt is not good because guilt will sap your energy. So many of the texts, and I ended up doing a couple of reels about it, is there's no room for guilt. You made a decision, and the decision was right at the time because you were meeting a psychological need, and guilt right now doesn't do you any good. You just need to think about when do I come back, and give yourself some criteria. If this happens, then you can go back. And that was very helpful to people because they said, wow, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know I was guilty. And, my kids wanted to see their friends, and I left my pet, and I feel very guilty about it. It was a bit of a mess that was going on. But the numbers were staggering. The number of people who left and wanted to come back and didn't know when to come back was very large based on the people who reached out to me.
The uncertainty bit really resonates with me. It's definitely the points in time that I felt worse during this situation, this crisis, was when I wasn't sure what was happening and I wasn't sure what the next plan was. And as soon as I gave, with my wife and I decided what the next step would be, we had something booked in, or we had, an idea about what we wanted to do. It didn't matter. I felt so much more comfortable, so much more calm, and things just started to flow. So I can definitely see how people were seeking that and why they would reach out to you. At what point in time did you think, I really need to say something useful here?
Like I said, within 24 hours of the beginning of the hostility. Yeah, very soon, because I felt I did a podcast once. I was trying to remember. It was with Arvid, I think, where we talked. It was like just a conversation, and we started recording. But we talked about the duty to share. When you are knowledgeable about something that can help people, you have a duty to share it. And this podcast I did like in November or something last year, and somehow it came back to me, and I felt that I was given experience. I'm an executive coach. I'm PCC certified. I have 26 years of corporate America. I've learned how to lead teams, like large teams, 350, and I'm a people person. So when I lead teams, I know them individually. I know how to make the teams together. I know what drives people, what triggers people, what people look for in a job. So I literally felt a duty to share with others, and what better platform than social media like Instagram to do that. And then after Instagram, I started posting also on TikTok and LinkedIn. And also getting a lot of traction on those platforms as well.
What amazes me is the diversity of people that reached out to you, but the diversity of I guess requests they had of you. Things that are probably beyond, in many ways, beyond your professional expertise or your personal expertise.
Yes, and
Underneath
the
it
key.
all,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah, so the key is to know your boundaries. So as a coach, I have boundaries. There are ethical boundaries where anything that is like a general anxiety disorder or any diagnosed condition, I am not at all in a place to give any advice or even to listen to the people. So as soon as they mention it, or as soon as I sense that something is a bit more, or if they say I'm taking anxiolytic medicine right away, I just say I cannot talk with you really, other than wish you well, but you need to listen to what your doctor said, follow your prescription. So there are very, very clear guidelines for coaching in this. I'm a coach. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. The doctor, by the way, and my name comes from PhD in engineering and construction, and it's the title that I chose to put in my name, so it in the book, so it's stuck with me. But I tell people I'm not a medical doctor. Okay, just be careful. But still, they say, okay, you're right, but your education is helpful, which is good. So I say, yes, take the education, which applies to what we call neurotypical people, like as opposed to neurodivergent. So if you're neurotypical, means that you don't have any divergence, then that's perfect. It's all you need. You have normal anxiety from everyday life, from not paying the bills, from you have normal fears that we all have. And as long as they don't become chronic and diagnosed, then all the psychoeducation is the best thing for you, actually. There's a study done by Bruce D. Perry that showed that psychoeducation is more effective, especially in zones of war, than therapy. Because therapy sometimes tend to, especially different kinds of therapies, but some of them tend to bring back the memories or the trauma, which reactivate certain circuitry, whereas psychoeducation gives you the tools to understand how a stimulus creates an emotion and how to regulate that emotion, which applies to everything. So if you know psychoeducation, then you can literally do your own therapy as thoughts or dreams or something come up naturally. Then you now are better equipped to understand what's going on in your head, versus not having psychoeducation, where you're constantly wondering what's going on. You may turn to some substances. You may end up making the situation worse by constantly looking for answers. Yes, so psychoeducation is the boundary that I don't go beyond. I don't treat people. I'm not a therapist. Now, oftentimes, like when it comes to parenting, I'm very well versed on parenting, especially on the conscious parenting approach, like Dr. Shefali Tsabari, and I read all her books, and she has an incredible approach which I use even in my coaching. So sometimes people would say, how do I deal with my kids in this situation? Then I'll bring to them some conscious parenting frameworks that are usually very helpful. So it's even beyond psychoeducation. It's also parenting. It's also relationships and communication. So all of these things that I use daily in my coaching have come very useful in my classes, the free classes I give to this community of people following me on Instagram, as well as in DMs or people who have very, very particular conditions or questions.
So it sounds like there was a common thread. Underneath it all, would it be fair to say that the people who were watching your videos and were contacting you were really, underneath it all, looking for reassurance and certainty? Is that the common thread?
Yeah, there were mostly neurotypical people who have never been in a situation like this before,
Right.
who are lacking a benchmark as to how to respond. And I resonated with them because I was in the same shoes. I said in my first video, I've never been in a conflict zone in my life before. And I said, I've felt things that I would like to share with you because I know how to process them in myself. So these are neurotypical people who are faced with decisions they've never had to face before, who are seeing uncertainty levels they've never experienced before, which brings all the red flags in the nervous system. If you have extreme uncertainty, that's a danger. That flags a danger. If you have first of a kind, if you have loud noises are one of the two innate fears, meaning every human being has them. The fear of loud noises and the fear of heights. Those two, no matter who you are, they will do something to your nervous system. They're innate. Those fears will trigger something. Now, some people learn how to regulate it a bit, but you cannot remove it. So you have the loud noises, you have extreme uncertainty, you have conflicting information online. You have people say stay, people say go, people say hide, people say live normally. So it's so confusing that people are looking for something solid to hang on to, like a rock in a moving wavy sea. And what I provided is, in my opinion, the best rock, which is understand how you work, understand how your nervous system responds to things. And of course, I have the knowledge that we are all made the same way. Like our circuitry on the inside is all the same. Our conditioning makes certain things more extreme than others, but the fundamental way that things work, like emotions and emotion regulation, very, very few people can totally master that. Some people do, but it requires years and years of practice. But everybody knows how they work. And, this thing about, the trigger response that I put in my videos, where if this is the trigger and this is the response, to not have any time between trigger and response is just reaction. It's snapping at people. It's making crazy decisions, or it's just becoming angry in an instant. And what I teach in my videos is to create a gap of time between the trigger and the response. And this gap of time is emotional intelligence, because it gives you enough seconds to reactivate your thinking brain instead of what's called amygdala hijack, where the noise or the danger goes straight from the sensory, from the nervous system, straight to your amygdala, with short-circuiting the prefrontal cortex, which means that you are simply responding like any animal out there running from a lion or running from a tiger, and that you do not inject in there the intelligence that, yes, it's a loud noise, but I'm actually safe. You need a thinking brain to say that. You need that 1 or 2 or 3 seconds for the brain after it is stunned. There's an instant of being completely stunned. And after that, you need to say, wait a minute, okay, I'm safe. I'm safe. Yes, it was a loud noise. Yes, I'm in a war zone, but I'm safe. Now you can think, okay, where do I go next?
How do you give yourself that gap? That's an obvious question, I guess. How do you give yourself that gap?
There are many ways. I give all these tips in the videos. One of them is take a deep breath and then a long exhale. Another one is to, as soon as you get out of that stunned mode, is to say to yourself, I'm safe, meaning like touch yourself like this, do something like this that brings you back in the moment and say, I'm safe. Some people walk out of a car of an accident, they touch themselves and they say, no broken bone, I'm safe. That helps you then regain your thinking. So breathing, gratitude, a statement in the moment, as opposed to, don't say, oh, I wonder where my kids are. Oh, I wonder what happened to this. Then you're going into panic mode. Then you're fueling that emotion even more. So it's better to just go back in the moment, breathe, say I'm safe. Now you have reactivated the thinking brain. Now you can go where you're most needed. Go check on your kids. Go check on wherever the noise came from. If you know somebody living near there, whatever it is, now you have a thinking brain to do it. So that gap right here, it's also a muscle, right? So you need to slowly, let's say 10 times in a row, you only remember to create the gap 2 times out of 10. Well, in a week, maybe you'll do 3 times out of 10, right? So it's a muscle that that gets activated. With all my practice, all my experience, I sometimes do this. I sometimes go straight from trigger to response, either because I didn't sleep enough or because I've had 5 things that all happen at once. So my brain goes in overwhelm, and you just say, "Oh shoot, I shouldn't have said that," and then you go into damage control mode.
What if, maybe this is a strange question, but what if you're not safe? What if you've had the car accident, for example, and you do have a broken bone?
Yeah.
You do have a broken wrist, or something that's
If
very
you're not
painful.
safe,
But
if you're
how
not
do
safe, you
you
need to
how
run.
do you
right?
regulate?
So that's the fear. The original purpose of fear is for you to run or fight, right? It puts you in fight or flight. That's the purpose of that. Loud noise means your body is in danger. So if indeed you start seeing stuff falling, you need to go under cover. You need to run and find cover. And your muscles will have all the energy needed because the amygdala hijack did what it's supposed to be doing, which is stop all unnecessary activities like digestion, send all the adrenaline to the muscles, get them into 110% capacity because I need to run. Something is falling from the sky. I need to run, right? So, or a dog, a rabid dog is running after me. You run. You try to climb a tree or something. So if you are not safe, then don't be using any of this junk. No breathing, no nothing. You just let the amygdala hijack do its job.
So that actually, although that feels like a funny question to ask, it actually crystallizes it for me, because I can perfectly understand everything you've said before now, because what you're saying is, it's a false alarm. It's generally a false alarm, and you've got to calm your body to tell your body this is a false alarm, and get your brain engaged, saying, this is a false alarm. I'm okay. I'm safe. My family's safe. I know where they are. We can call them. Everything's working.
Perfect. Exactly. That's exactly right. That's psychoeducation. If you look at the example in a movie theater, in the cinema, somebody screams fire, the classical example, or maybe even you hear an alarm or something, and you get the herd movement where somebody screams, everybody's amygdala hijack goes into fear, and people follow wherever people are running. Except if you have that 1 second gap, you can actually think, not follow the herd, and look around, scan to see if where there's smoke, or maybe see somebody who opened the door and you can see light, or you can hear somebody from the police or fire department says, false alert, false alert. So now you have thinking brain to have more data to make the right decision. Either go away from the smoke or go towards where you saw the light, or stay where you are and maybe even try to calm other people and saying the fireman said there is no fire. But all the others, they just went amygdala hijack and they started running. And think about zebras running from a lion. They don't each find their path. They go in big groups because there is safety in groups. That's why people panic and they follow each other, because instinctively there's safety in groups. They don't know that they're going towards where the fire is because no one's thinking.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. I think in most cases, unless there really is something bad going on, then you do need to give. Even if there is something bad going on, that second is probably enough.
Yeah,
to
that
give
second
some
will tell
perspective.
you what's the fastest way to go to safety,
Yeah.
as opposed to following the herd, which doesn't think.
Now, come on, Mr. Amygdala, kick in. Let's get into action.
Amygdala is your friend. Amygdala will save your
Yeah.
life. Amygdala has saved my life a few times.
Yeah.
When you're driving, I was driving a motorcycle, and my amygdala told me you are in danger of an accident right now. And somehow it just told me to do the right thing, instinct, training or whatever. And I avoided a collision. And then I later saw it was going to be a collision for sure. So it's the amygdala that sensed what was going on and then said either slow down or brake or veer to the right or veer to the left. It was my amygdala, because my thinking brain is not that fast.
No. The amygdala sounds very, 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 very fast. That's
very
fascinating. It's fascinating to hear. It's fascinating to understand. And just thinking back again to the people who contacted you and the influence, I guess, that you had on people with your videos. Obviously, you impacted people a lot. How did it impact you, Hatem, as a coach, as a communicator, I guess, and as a person?
It impacted me greatly because for the last 5 years here in the UAE, I've been working on, supporting others through coaching, through training sessions, through programs like Culture of Care program to help others reach their level up basically and become who they're meant to be, which is the title of my book. It's my mission. This opportunity actually gave me a chance to help hundreds of people directly in a very impactful way, where what's at stake is mental health, not so much promotion or leveling up. So I felt it was very rewarding to see that people were coming back to me and saying this came exactly at the right time. Somebody just today told me that they saw this guy, poor guy, making a plea because he was stuck in that MV Hondius ship that had a virus, and he's like, uncertainty is killing me. I want to go home. I want safety. He was crying, and it was it was really rewarding where this lady told me, I wanted to share this with you because like 2 months ago, I was in a similar situation of panic due to uncertainty, and your videos helped me.
Wow.
That was super powerful. And in her own exact words, absolutely, I just felt for him so much, and it made me think of how I was at the beginning of all of this. And before that, she said, thank you for continuing to putting these videos. So asked me how did it make me feel. It made me feel, it was very rewarding. It made me feel useful. It made me feel like I'm paying back. I'm paying it forward, if you will. All the training I got from Michigan State University, all the mentorships that I've done during Bechtel, all the coaching classes and lessons that I've taken, all the personal interest. I have a lot of books on Carl Jung, on psychology, on parenting, on relationships, on communication. These are very, very, very important topics these days. I felt like all of that knowledge from all of those sources, I finally had an opportunity to share it, to pay it forward in a big way, in a way that's beyond, 20 people I coach or a company or whatever. It's like real people, like everyday people are benefiting from that knowledge. And I felt like I was paying it forward.
And when you say you felt like you were paying it forward, was that from a professional point of view, or from how did you feel
human
personally
point of view
as well?
Human
point of view. Okay.
Yeah, this is beyond profession. I mean, I've this has taken priority over my coaching business because it's mental health is real, and to help people not slip into mental unhealth is phenomenal. It's really it's a sacred role, right? So notice my words: help people not fall into mental health problems, meaning stay in the I am in control. I have agency. I am not burned out. I am not getting depressed. All of that, to keep them in that normal bandwidth of emotions of every day is in itself a major task when you're in a conflict zone.
And do you think it made you feel calm as well? Do you think it calmed this being able to talk about it, being able to express? Do you think it helped you feel better?
Yes. One of the things I show in my video is the importance of co-regulation. So co-regulation is like win-win-win. Co-regulation means when, let's say I am stressed out and you're calm, and you come to me and you just say, Hatem, everything okay? I sense you want to talk with someone. And I say, no, I'm okay. Thank you. I appreciate it, Chris. And then without even me knowing it, you have helped calm me down. Right? Not because of the words you said, but because of your presence, because your nervous system is tuned to be on the calm side. You're on the parasympathetic branch of your nervous system. I was on the sympathetic, which is the stressed out. So you helped me calm down a bit, so co-regulate. And also another concept is when you teach, you learn even more, right? So as I'm teaching co-regulation, I am experiencing co-regulation. So when people say, your voice was calming in the middle of the storm, in the middle of all this doom scrolling, so I was co-regulating them. But what I realize whenever I read the messages is it's calming me down as well. For two reasons. One is because of this co-regulation, which is like two tuning forks, if you will. They kind of go towards each other. But also because the sense of duty, of mission accomplished, every time a video gets good traction, okay, mission accomplished. I had an idea. I thought this was a problem. I did a reel about it. And then people are saying, yes, you're right. This was a problem. Thank you. That calms me down. And that gives me more energy to re-baselines me. So I'm not getting, accumulated stress. So every time there's stress, then I go back down, right? And again, I'm ready for the next one. And then I go back down, I re-baseline. So every time I get feedback about a reel, I get re-baselined and ready for the next one.
I'm glad to hear that. Like, in all honesty, as a friend to a friend, because it does feel like everything we've spoken about today, you've talked from quite an educational, I guess, informed point of view, theories and authors, and that's what made me think: are you at the end of it, getting the joy and the reward and the actual, the calm that you need?
Yes.
So it is very good to understand that and know that.
Yeah, and paying it forward rewards both the receiver and the giver.
Yeah.
Just like charity is a selfish act, because when you give, you get this internal contentment, serotonin, oxytocin. You get all the good juices come out in your body to reward you for having given, basically. So I get that too, right? Because when I'm not saying it's charity. What I'm saying is it's giving. It's giving from a place, from a good place, from a place of, I know, therefore, it's my duty to give to you. It's still giving. It's still a reward. And anytime somebody says thank you from the bottom of my heart, I get those good juices flowing in my system as well. And those juices, like oxytocin, which enters into the picture in co-regulation. Oxytocin is the hormone that gets generated when there is a group gathering, when people are around the fire, when people are eating at the same table, when people are telling stories. Oxytocin, that's the hormone that that floods your system, and it's a feel-good hormone because your body says, okay, you're in a tribe, you're protected, you're safe, you have good people who love you around you, you have the fire to protect you. All of these things equate to, okay, therefore I'm gonna put oxytocin in your system so that you enjoy this feel good and you stay in this situation, so I keep you safe.
So how do we get more oxytocin? What kind of things do we do?
Hug people, you get
that?
oxytocin. Hug people. And if you hug up to 20 seconds, especially your family, people it's appropriate, then it doesn't matter. Your wife, your kids, it all works. 20 seconds of hug peaks the amount of oxytocin. Beyond that, no. But 20. If you get to 20 seconds with a good hug, you're gonna flood your system with oxytocin.
Now thinking about
another tip, if you at the same time, sorry,
I was going to say, now I think about it, a hug is very calming.
Very cool.
Just a prolonged one, not a 2 second where it feels a bit awkward, but just that prolonged.
You cannot stay angry. You cannot
Yeah.
stay angry. You cannot stay frustrated, because the chemistry in your body is shifting, whether you like it or not. The body feels another body, and it's safe and it's friendly, and it will start generating oxytocin. At the same time, it's pushing away adrenaline, cortisol. So it's a sure bet. Things like breathing, hugging, being around the fire, why does it feel so good to be around the fire? It's because it's safety. It's because it symbolizes food is about to cook. It symbolizes warmth when it's cold, right? So all of these things, your body's like, oh yeah, fire, stay close. Okay, not too close, but stay close.
Now, just turning quickly off I guess, all the warm and the fuzzy bits. There are a lot of professionals who listen and watch this podcast who could probably learn a lot from your experience. So you did your videos, from your heart. You did it because it made you feel good. That was the motivation. It wasn't that I want to go and influence other people, or I want to, it was like, it makes me feel good and I want to help other people, and it's a bonus. What do you think other professionals can learn from this about showing up credibly and usefully in moments of uncertainty?
A lot. From these videos, I was approached by companies and people who watch my videos and say, come talk to my team. And the amount of interest from these 1 hour lunch and learn, or whatever you want to call it, is incredible, because this applies to the workplace as well. Because it is the framework of how we respond to things. It doesn't matter if the thing is a missile threat or a nasty gram, those emails that are filled with toxic content and insulting or jeopard or threatening or things like that. So the questions I'm getting in these corporate calls are, what do I do if somebody is constantly complaining to me and draining my energy? Or what do I do if despite having solved the problem, it's still ruminating in my head? Same thing, right? So the same framework about psychoeducation applies to them. So professional listening to your podcast can benefit from these videos if you just change the threat from one thing to the other. Because our brain and our nervous system is encapsulated in our body. Only our eyes and ears and skin, they tell what's going on. Doesn't know whether the threat is a lion running after you, or a nasty gram from your boss, or a notification.
Okay, so Hatem, we've been talking about how a lot of people are dealing with uncertainty at the moment, in their businesses, their families, their personal lives. You talked a bit about what happens psychologically when people feel unclear, unsafe, and unsettled, and how your videos helped in a difficult time in the UAE. But I think you started talking about work as well. People at work tend to have a lot of stress. And when you feel a bit unclear, unsafe, or unsettled at work, it's very difficult not to bring that home. How do you advise people to, I guess, make that gap between work and home, to make sure you don't bring the uncertainty and the unhappiness from work?
It's a common issue I had to learn myself the hard way. I was 26 years in corporate America, and I would sometimes bring my problems. I would co-regulate the other way, where I would come in and everybody would feel me still wound up, and it's weird. Like glasses would fall and break. It's horrible. I remember. You do co-regulate. There's no ifs or buts. If somebody is upset around you, if somebody is still like boiling on the inside, there's no way. You cannot not notice it. Even if you consciously don't notice it, you unconsciously notice it. So the best way to transition from home to work, from work to home, in my experience and tried and tested, is to establish a transition routine, okay? Where a moment, I don't know, when you get in your car, when you shut the door, you take a deep breath, and it's like, okay, I'm now starting my transition. And this is very powerful if you consciously remember that, and not just close the door and start driving and not even realize you're halfway back home and you're still thinking about that problem. So you need to have a trigger, like a door shutting, when you have that quiet in the cabin, right? And then you get used to it. Okay, take a deep breath or two. Okay, and you say, okay, these problems, they will be there tomorrow. I may even be texted or emailed about them later tonight. That's okay. But now I'm going to use this 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 1 hour in Dubai to transition to the home. You're literally visualizing now you in that drive, and then you getting off the car, shutting the door, going into the house, and imagining, visualizing what is going on. You then start remembering things like, oh, my daughter had an exam today, or my son went to the dentist today. So you're like, okay, you're getting back into that mode of home by visualizing what's going to happen. And you're like, oh, I know my wife maybe had a difficult day today, so I better come a bit also co-regulating myself. So come quiet and calm so that she can actually co-regulate with me. And this is magical. It actually works. By the time you get home, you have essentially transitioned. You have prepped yourself through visualization, what's coming up in your home, remembered some key elements about it. So as soon as you go in the house, the kid come running to you, you're ready. They can feel you're more relaxed. They can feel you're home. They can feel you're present. And that's what that transition does. When you're at home, be at home. And if you need to do work, then you just make it clear, say at 9 o'clock, I need to do about an hour's worth of work. Everybody knows that at 9, you will not be present anymore. But at least from 7 to 9, they have the mother or the father or whatever it is. That's the best advice that's connected with both neuroscience and visualization as to how do you increase your chance of having a good time at home. So limited, like 2 to 3 hours. You have to make good use of it.
Yeah, you do spend so much, so in fact, working lives are so much of our lives, I should say, at work rather than at home. And now there's people like me who work from home a lot. And so I used to have that transition where I would leave an office and I'd get in my car, I'd listen to a podcast or some music and turn the music up loud and feel the thump of the bass or whatever and regulate a little bit that way, which you don't necessarily have anymore. A lot of people are now working from home, either full-time or part-time. And it's difficult, isn't it, to differentiate and create this boundary. So what do you advise in
create a
that
boundary?
case?
Find a space in your home, in your apartment, where that's the place you work, and figure out if you have a boundary. If you don't have walls, then get those movable separations. Something that makes you feel like, okay, I left home now. I left this space where I'm dedicated my work. I'm going to the kitchen for a break, or I'm going to see how my daughter is doing. She needed help with math, and then I'll come back later. So create a physical boundary within your home. Don't work in 5 different places at home. If you're more effective, then create 2 different places that you call work, right? But if you mix them, if you start sending that email from the couch and the TV is going on and somebody can hear opening the fridge, that can really mess you up, really, because then you're completely mixing them up, and your brain doesn't ever disconnect from work. Even when you're at the table, you were sitting there just a minute ago doing an email. So I discourage people from working from different places at home because it creates a complete mapping of work and home. But if you have the luxury of having a place that is distinct and separate, that is the best.
It makes me laugh a little bit, actually, because I do have a bedroom that I was using at home, or I use at home for as a home office. It no longer has a bed in there, but I put a TV in there thinking, I'll be able to sit here in the evening and watch TV and relax. But that place, that office, is the last place I want to be at the end of the day. Once I've done my
Correct.
work, I do not want to go back in there. I don't want to.
That's the
It's
right
not a
attitude.
relaxing
If you
place.
have
It's a
that
workplace.
feeling, that means that you are succeeding in what I'm telling you, because in your mind you have left the office, right? If you get that feeling, if anybody who's listening gets that feeling where they don't want to go back to that place, that means that they have established a good boundary in their mind of the difference between home and work.
Oh, that's good. Well, it's the starting point. I mean, I do go back in there, but I just can't use it as a relaxing place. It has to be
No.
it's a place of
Yeah, no,
I guess
you can
stress and
be
action.
flexible in a way, right? So if that place, for example, has better Wi-Fi, and one of your children says, "Can we go watch this on my iPad in your area?" and you're just saying, "Okay, now I'm gonna go to that place, but only because it has good Wi-Fi, and my daughter or my son wants quality time. Maybe it's also isolated. Maybe your kids like to be in it because they feel like they're closer to daddy or mommy." So you have to be flexible. I'm not saying be like so rigid. If the intent of that time is good, then it's okay. The location, it trumps the location. But it's when you're not thinking that this thing becomes pernicious. When you're moving like without even thinking from the two spaces, that's when your mind gets confused. As soon as there's like back to that oxytocin we were talking about earlier, if your son just say, "Come on, Dad, let's go watch Premier League. Your Wi-Fi is the best there. Let's watch it there." Then automatically your mind is like oxytocin. I have quality time with my son and or daughter. My daughter loves Premier League too, and now your body is clear that you're in that space. Yes, but you are really in the tribe. You are with a loved one, and you are having a good time over a screen.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, when you're sharing the space, it's a different atmosphere,
Different
and a
vibe.
different.
If you
It's
feel
a
a different vibe,
environment.
that's it.
Yeah.
You're good. That means you don't have that negative vibe or no, I hate this place. It reminds me of emails. If you feel that, that means that you should not be in it. That means that that's not the right time for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You need to give yourself a break. Now, something you mentioned to me when we spoke the other day, you said that caution can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Tell me what that means, because I can't remember.
No, no, no. No, I
You can't
know,
remember. Oh, no,
I
that's
know what
good.
you're
That's a good
talking
sign.
about. This has to do with when you do self-speak, when you speak to yourself, especially when it's loud voice. And let's say you say, "I better be cautious. That corner there is a bit dangerous. There may be a spider in it or something," right? So you are creating through talk about a place, and you're saying, "I think that's unsafe." Then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Then whether there's a spider or not, your body will believe you, and if you come close to that place, you start feeling fear. I think that's what yes. So
Association.
there's a part in our brain in the back called reticular activating system, most often called the RAS. The RAS is its job is to decide what to send to the prefrontal cortex, to the thinking brain, because the body received millions and millions of bits of information in sound and smells, in feeling, in touch, in gustatory, in various different senses, but the thinking brain cannot handle it all. It can only handle 50 bits per second or something like that. And so millions versus so the RAS has to decide what is important in all of this sensory, and it does this fraction of a second by fraction of a second. And it decides to send to the brain what it knows by programming to be of value, a belief, something you say all the time. And this is why the RAS comes into the picture when you are thinking about buying a certain car. And now you're on the streets and you see it everywhere. That's because your RAS heard you thinking about that car, and it says, "Oh, Chris is interested in a whatever, in a BMW or whatever it is, in a BYD, and he has thought this about 3 or 4 times. You don't even have to say it actually. If you think about it, then it becomes important, and your RAS starts giving any sensory that connects to that car, giving it priority and sending it here. And you're like, oh, the BYD, oh, another one, right? That's what it is. Oftentimes, I think the RAS is the scientific explanation for the secret, the manifestation. the law of attraction, if you will. I'm sure you watched that movie. So it says, whatever you think of manifests for you. What it is, it's not that it all of a sudden shows up. The BYD was always there. But because you're thinking about it, it's manifesting, meaning your RAS is now sending it to your thinking brain. Right? So same thing about what you said about the caution, right? If you
notice it.
if you see somebody and you say he's toxic or she's toxic, then your RAS will, as soon as they see them, they'll like take the other sidewalk. Maybe you don't even see them. They blank them out from your vision.
So how do people realize that when they're being too cautious, when the ROS kicked in and they've basically had that self-fulfilling prophecy? How do you, when you realize
you need to
that,
raise
what do you
your
do about
awareness and separate fact from perception or fact from interpretation? So you question your original basis. Why am I afraid of that corner? Why am I afraid? Is there fact, or was this something that I believed one day and now it's become etched into my brain? So awareness and questioning and checking if something is fact or if it's something that you believed one day to be fact. There's no shortcut to that. First become aware that you are programming your own RAS to show you things. And then you start saying, wait a minute, if I'm thinking that, I don't know, Chinese cars are low quality, which is something I believed 20 years ago, now it's not true anymore. Now I own a Chinese car. And I had to change my RAS. I had to say, no, actually, I don't think Chinese cars are bad anymore. I've seen so many good looking ones and so many reviews about them and all that. And all of a sudden now, there was an ad on a jet tour that 0% no VAT or something. And my RAS said, hey, you were talking about Chinese cars. There's an opportunity. And it flagged it. But 20 years ago, I would have never flagged it because I was thinking Chinese cars were low quality.
Yep, it is a very interesting thing to think about. And that you have to think so consciously about something that has become subconscious.
That's the
subconscious
key. Awareness. So even in my book, the second chapter is self-awareness. Know yourself. Know what your beliefs are. Know what has been taught to you when you were a kid. And figure out, is this good? Maybe you grew up in a society where, women had a certain role and men had a certain role. And you realize, oh my gosh, that's a belief. I can't believe it. It looks like I'm treating my daughters different from my sons. What's going on here? And then you realize, whoa, wait a minute. This is not good. I need to change this. Just having these self-questions and introspection will reduce the effect of the RAS.
Perception is an amazing thing, isn't it? And how you can change your perception. Yes, perception is an amazing thing, and how you can change your perception.
Perception is a choice. Perception is the result of looking at that information and modifying it in a way that fits your history or conditioning. And then you end up with a perception, which may not be like what your eyes and ears have actually seen and sensed. It is modified in this whole process here to fit your safety, your values, your beliefs, what parents told you, etc.
On that note, a lot of the things we've talked about today have been about stressful situations and feeling worried and anxious and uncertain. But you're also a believer, I think, that there's an upside of stress and that we can reframe stress in a healthier way.
Okay, so first, how do we do that? About the upside of stress. So this comes from a lady called Kelly McGonigal. And she did a TED, which I can send you so you can share with your podcast audience on the upside of stress, which is the title of her book. And she explains in this in the book that the way you look at stress before it actually happens will determine the impact of that stress on your body. So if you look at an upcoming stress as a chance to grow or a challenge to take on or something that will make you stronger, then your body will say, oh, I'm looking forward to this stress. And when stress makes you sleep less or makes you have these negative things about your body, it will recover quickly and actually achieve post-traumatic growth. Any stress is a form of trauma, a small trauma. Whereas the opposite is if you think of that stress as something that's imposed on you, something that you cannot avoid, something you're not looking forward to, something that can only have negative connotations, then it will have a negative impact on your body. So what we learn from this is if we take on any challenge coming our way and label it or pre-frame it or have the intention about it to grow and to become better at the end of it, then our bodies will become stronger, more resilient, and will have post-traumatic growth. If, on the other hand, we do the opposite, we will be diminished from it instead of being improved. So we can use this, for example, in the situation we're going through right now. If somebody says, I am not doing this anymore, as soon as I can, I'm leaving this region and I'm not going through any war anymore in my life. Then whatever they're experiencing today, tomorrow, every alert is going to take a dig at their body and they're going to be less resilient. Whereas if somebody, I've seen these funny posts about changing their resume and say, I can work anywhere. I can work under drones. I can under missile. So it's a funny thing. They make it as a joke, but there is truth behind it. That if you can continue to produce, continue to deliver, continue to gain sales, continue to do whatever you're doing under these circumstances, and you acknowledge it and you say, wow, I can actually continue to produce under stress. This is good. Now you're becoming better. You're truly becoming more resilient. And that's the upside of stress. So it's what you make of it.
So conscious intention is very important. And it almost sounds, to simplify it, looking on the positive side and always finding the positive side.
Yeah, the silver lining
in a difficult situation.
Yeah. But silver lining is usually after the fact. This is a pre-intention. This is, you're bracing for something, right? But you're not bracing to defend yourself. You're bracing to come out of it on the winning side, if you will. It's
okay. Yeah. So maybe you have a big performance coming up, or
Correct.
You have to do a big speech at work, or you've got a big presentation to do,
exactly
or
right.
a difficult conversation to have.
Exactly the point that Kelly McGonigal was saying is if you have something major coming up, and she talks about the butterflies in your stomach. She's saying the butterflies in your stomach before a speech is not a problem. It's actually your body saying, this is important. We're going to do good here. But if you treat the butterflies in your stomach as nervousness and weakness, then they will not do their job. They will actually impede you, and you'll start maybe having even pain in here. So she's saying, if you think of the butterflies in your stomach, which is that growling, that weird feeling, as the sign that your body is gearing up for something very important, then they will do their job. Then you will respond better, faster, quicker. So that's the upside of stress in a nutshell. And I'll send you the TED talk for your audience.
So you want the amygdala to kick in, then you want to control your amygdala and saying, okay, I need you now. I'm going to be doing something big.
Yeah, amygdala is usually connected with fear. So when you're public speaking, the amygdala will tell you, what are these people going to say about you? So you want to kind of tone down the amygdala because it tends to want you to not be on stage. Because for the amygdala, the stage is dangerous because people are looking at you and they judge you, quote unquote. And you're afraid of that. That's why people are afraid of public speaking.
Okay.
But what you want is you want to feel that stage fright. But I wouldn't call it fright. You want to feel that special moment that, this is important. I'm going to do well. And if you on the opposite say, I better not mess this up, then you're not on the wrong side of the upside of stress.
It's like sitting for a big exam, isn't it? Prepping for a big exam. You've got to go in confident. You've got to go in thinking, I know my stuff. I've done a lot of work on it.
So the
It's maybe not
self-talk is
going to be easy,
important.
but I
That's
can do
why
this.
that's the self-talk defines the intention. So exactly what you said. If you're preparing for a big exam and your self-talk is, well, I've studied very well. It's all coming to a head. I know my stuff, and there's no reason why I shouldn't ace this.
Now, when I listen to your videos that you're doing, the ones on Instagram and TikTok, one key thing that I picked up of what you were advising people is
Yes.
to have gratitude, to reflect with gratitude. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah,
as
so
a
I wouldn't
coping
call it a
mechanism.
coping mechanism. It's more of an approach to it's connected with that creating the gap,
Like a
right?
strategy?
So remember I said you can breathe and create the gap, but
Okay.
also remember when I said you feel yourself and you're like, I'm safe. That's gratitude. You're implying I'm grateful that I'm safe. That accelerates the process of going back to your thinking brain because it calms the system down, because you're recognizing that something bigger than you, whatever you call it, faith or destiny or universe, whatever, has protected you in this situation. So that accelerates the process of going back into your thinking brain and not feeling panicked or paranoid about it.
So in difficult situations, when you're feeling quite panicked and you need to calm yourself down, but you have children, you've got to look after your children, and they can't see you panicking because they're going to panic. How should we as parents or even leaders, I guess, in an organization when things are going south and there's a lot of uncertainty, how can we as leaders of the family or leaders of organizations communicate during uncertainty without
I got that
creating
question a lot.
unnecessary fear?
And especially when it comes to kids, but also other adults in the house. And remember that one of the problems is uncertainty and lack of knowledge. So when you communicate with people in these situations, whether you're a leader or parent or older sibling or whatever it is, people are looking for your knowledge and your wisdom, in addition to being co-regulated, right? So you want to give as much of that as possible, and then make sure you say, I don't know about that, right? So they at least know that you've enhanced their knowledge a little bit, and they know also that you have a level of uncertainty and lack of knowledge. So that's the first guideline is give as much information as you can, including children that are 8, 9, 10, 11. That's okay. They are already in the executive function mode. 0 to 7 is a different story. You still have to calm them down, but figure out the best way to calm them down. But they also hear things and see things, so you can't just say, oh, everything is okay. So you have to explain things in their language, in their understanding. So they walk away from that conversation thinking, mom or dad, they know what's going on. I'm safe with them. Same thing with employees, or same thing with like flight attendants. I was talking to a flight attendant the other day here in Etihad Plaza, and she was explaining to me, she saw my videos and she explained to me that they do co-regulation on a daily basis on the flights. Anytime there is turbulence, the people who are very afraid of flying, the first thing they do is they look at the flight attendant. If the flight attendant is calm and composed and smiling, then they calm down. Same thing, right? So just by your presence, if you're tense, if you're obviously shaking yourself, then you're not going to be a source of calmness. You're going to be in the opposite, a source of more anxiety and stress.
It's amazing how those flight attendants can somehow balance all the food and the drink and not spill it when the plane's bouncing like this. And you think they should probably be sitting down, but they don't know. We're going to keep doing our job.
Seatbelt, so they say you're not trained for this.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you, Hatem, we've talked a lot about sort of, I guess, philosophically and high up, I guess. Can you share a story from your own life, from your coaching work, from your leadership experience, where you've seen someone handle uncertainty well?
Yes, absolutely. Recently, through these DMs and classes and through the questions I'm getting, I'm observing individuals that are progressing along this path in the right way. Like the example I had mentioned earlier of the lady who said, I saw myself in that individual, how I was at the beginning of the war. So this works. All I'm doing is describing what is normally happening in our system. Of course, I describe it well. People say that I explain things well, that I explain things in an easy way to understand, and that's my value add. But the knowledge itself, the wisdom, is not rocket science. Like you can ChatGPT can give it to you. It's in all the neuroscience books. It's in documentaries. A lot of people just look up emotional regulation. But when it is taught individual to individual, especially when they both are in the same shoes, it's not coming from a high place, but hey, I'm in it with you. Like I said at the beginning, I did this video because I felt these same things. And because I know about them, here's what I know. That's why it works. That's why so many people are progressing along the path of more emotional regulation. I have a WhatsApp group of all the people who attended my class. It's over 100 people, and they're all progressing on this emotional mastery. It's like free classes I'm giving, plus being on a WhatsApp group, throwing in additional bits of information, listening to some questions. So it's become a community of people who are themselves going to become guides, who are themselves going to pay it forward and step up. Like this lady talking, she replied to the guy who was stranded in a ship with virus on it off Cape Verde, and her replying with empathy and saying the right things is going to help that guy sustain that uncertainty a little bit more. So she's paying it forward too.
So as I said, we've done a lot of deep talk here, deep thinking today. Your book, Become Who You Are Meant to Be, is about transformation. It's about self-awareness and fulfillment. But it's a story of your
Yes.
own self-discovery. Do you feel like this is a constant journey, or do you feel like you've now
That's a
become who
very good
you are meant
question.
to be?
Because the answer is both. So first of all, you're asking about the nature of the book. It's not a biography. It's a set of lessons derived from my progression through the different steps of transformation, starting with imposter syndrome, increasing my self-awareness, finding my life purpose for now, understanding life's signposts, making tough decisions, understanding synchronicities, learning from setbacks and building resilience, how to achieve contentment and state of flow, and how to be in service to others. Those are the key elements of the book. And throughout these chapters, 7 chapters, there are stories from my life that illustrate that point, right? And on top of that, you have this very long bibliography, more than like 7 pages of bibliography. So I also add what the thought leaders in each particular subject say about, say, imposter syndrome or self-awareness, and of course my own lived experience from it. So it's a book about my lived experience and the lessons I have deduced from it. It's like reverse engineering what happened to me in a period of 9 months. I was able to go back and figure out all that happened and brought in all the relevant stories so that people reading my book can see what it's like to go from person A to person B. And if they have imposter syndrome, they can't really get to self-awareness until they harness the power of imposter syndrome, which has a lot of power and you can harness it. If they pass that and they develop deep self-awareness, now there's a tool which is called the golden thread to help them figure out their life purpose. Now, your second question is is very good because my book is a loop that you can go through once and twice and three times, as many times as you need to. That's why I said, figure out your life purpose now. Okay, so when I was 18, I had a different life purpose than when I'm 58. I just turned 58 yesterday. So this book is very, very useful to reconsider if you have achieved a certain mission and now you're having this other inner voice that says, no, there's more for you now. Then you go back, you check the imposter syndrome now that you're doing bigger things. You check self-awareness, you see if your life purpose has changed. You start reading life signposts to tell you where to go. You make more tough decisions and so on and so forth. So it's because it's so generic, it just helps you go from one place where you're unfulfilled to find what will fulfill you. And then once you're fulfilled, then you're like, okay, now I have another mountain to climb. You go back to the same book.
Yeah. Do you think people ever achieve that full fulfillment?
They don't. But there's a voice that says there's more important things now. So yes, you're getting a little bit of trail of fulfillment, but it's saying, no, you're much bigger than this now. It's that nagging voice that says, okay, it's time to move on. You heard that one before, right? It's time to move on, right? So you're never fulfilled, but you could be achieving a lot and not fulfilled enough. So you need that good balance, like Tony Robbins says. If you master the science of achievement, you have to also master the art of fulfillment. And it's not a one-off. I think it repeats itself. So that the ultimate fulfillment and contentment is described in chapter 7, which is whatever you're doing that you're doing well will bring you contentment, and you'll be in a state of flow if you do it in service to others. Okay? So if that service to others starts diminishing and now you're just making money, the inner voice is going to say, I'm not content now because I'm not supporting others. Yes, we have a big amount of money in the bank account, but you need to go through another loop. You learn so much out of this. People who startup after startup after startup, that's what's happening. They achieve that goal of getting the startup to 50 employees and $10 million. And now they don't get pleasure from the next phase. So they sell it and do another one. That's one example. That going from 10 million to 100 million does not fulfill them. But going from 0 to 10 is extremely fulfilling.
Very, very interesting perspective. So for our listeners who are feeling a bit unsettled, a bit unfulfilled, maybe a bit stuck or unsure what to do next.
Yes.
The obvious next step is to buy your book. But beyond that,
yes,
what are the other practical steps you'd recommend?
For that particular problem, I've researched a lot of books, and my book is the most sharp towards that. How to achieve the art of fulfillment in 140 pages. I mean, that, without having to go to a seminar with Tony Robbins or anything, that's like the cheapest way to get it, in my humble opinion, because it's a lived experience, because I am fulfilled now. But I know maybe in 3 or 4 years, I will have achieved the cycle and I'll have a nagging voice. So I'll go back to my book, literally. So yes, buy my book. It's available in Dubai and Kinokuniya, or I can also give you a link to buy it on my website. But other than that, study the art of fulfillment on your own and figure out, what is it that makes you tick? Is it helping others? Is it going from 0 to 10 million? Is it producing a beautiful invention that no one has ever conceived before? Is it, tending to your garden could be fulfilling? There's nothing wrong with that. Is it traveling? We are so unique, all of us. You need to know what makes you tick, not what toys you want, or what truly produces those, serotonin, contentment hormones in you, where you go in a state of flow. You don't notice time passing. And I mentioned this in my chapter 3, which is how to find your life purpose. It's connected to fulfillment, right? If you're working and making, millions of dollars, but you're doing something you're not really passionate about, you're not going to be fulfilled. For sure. for sure. Doesn't mean you have to stop it. You can continue doing it, but you need to start dedicating 5, 6, 7 hours a week into that thing that makes you tick. I go, help a charity or teach, tutor people, whatever. The world is so unique, so different. Each one of us is unique, and there's no one answer. But my golden thread chapter gives you clues as to how to get there, and it's connected to your 8, 9, 10 years old, 11, 12. If you remember or you call or have photos or talk to your parents or something, that will give you a clue of what makes you tick.
So look introspectively, look back at your past,
Yes,
and then look to the future.
More on the past and the present. If the present is clearly not working, you need to acknowledge that. Don't sugarcoating because you're making a lot of money. If it's not working, it's not working. I'm not saying stop making money. I'm saying,
I guess it could be.
Sorry?
It could be not working if you're not making enough money too. It could be not working if you're not making enough money as well.
Yeah, you're not doing what makes you tick, but you're not making enough money to sustain. So you need to change something. You need to act. You need to make tough decisions in life sometimes. So, and I wrote the biggest chapter. Chapter 5 is about making decisions. And I'm an engineer. I'm a researcher. I have a PhD. I'm a project manager. I know a thing or two about making decisions. And I've made many decisions based that affect people's lives, and I didn't take that chapter lightly. So it's a condensed experience, wisdom, nuggets, lessons learned from my 58 years of life.
Amazing. So yeah, the first step for everybody is go out and buy Hatem's book. It's Become Who You Are Meant to Be by Dr. Hatem Goucha.
My pleasure.
Hatem, thank you so much for joining us today. If people do want to, you mentioned it's available in person in Dubai. You can also get it on Amazon. You can get it from your website, which is...
my website is... It's drhatemgoucha.com. But I'll send you the exact link because it's a landing page specifically for the book. So I'll send you that together with a TED for Kelly McGonigal.
All right. So if people do want to speak to you, drhatemgoucha.com.
LinkedIn, Instagram.
Follow us on
It's
Instagram.
Hatem Goucha.
We'll
It's my
share
first name, last name.
Hatem's
I'm both on LinkedIn and
details
Instagram.
there.
Easy to find.
Easy. And is your TikTok and Instagram? You're almost an influencer now, I think.
I think so.
But
Somebody
in a
had
way.
she's a vlogger, Pauline, and she talked about how her family is readjusting the apartment with the incoming threats. And then towards the end of her vlog, she says, "Oh, and I found this influencer who's helping me deal with these emotional situations." And she showed a few of my videos. I'm like, "Oh, I'm an influencer now."
That's amazing. That's amazing. You've made it. Now you just got to get the kids talking about it, and you've definitely made it, Hatem.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a truly inspiring and educational session. So everybody go out and buy that book, Become Who You're Meant to Be. Thanks again to Hatem for sharing his perspective and his thoughtful, practical ideas on uncertainty, resilience, and growth. What I really took from this conversation, a great many things, but the importance of showing up with credibility and humanity and being true to yourself when people need it most. You need to be of service. And that's what I really took from what Hatem said today, is that being of service gave him great fulfillment and really helped other people. If today's conversation has resonated with you, you can find more on our website. Just Google Muhami Matters. You can connect with me at CJA Consulting or visit Muhami.ae. I'm Chris Adams. Until next time, stay informed and stay empowered. Thank you for joining us on Muhami Matters. If you found today's episode valuable, subscribe and connect with me to stay updated. Join me again soon as we continue to bring you credible insights, practical strategies, and trusted advice to empower your professional journey. I'm Chris Adams. Until next time, stay informed and stay empowered.